welcome back to my channel. My name is Brooke. Thanks for joining today. This is a channel where I talk about houseplants and do DIYs in my shorts or updates recently. So if you have not yet, take a minute and subscribe to my channel so you can be up to date on all my latest videos. If you are a recurring viewer, thanks so much for coming back and watching another video. Today, I wanted to talk about 5 products that over the years of collecting houseplants that I just don't think are necessary or want anymore or need. I'm going to be walking you through 5 products that I have personally owned and tried as a beginning plant person and just over the years have not used at all. Let's start. The first and number 1 product is a moisture meter. So these are supposed to tell you when the soil is wet or dry or moist, and it's going to help you water your plants properly and not overwater them. But what I have learned over the years that these do not work. They are not accurate. I don't care if it's like the double-pronged one that you stick in the soil that's smaller. It's not accurate because there are so many variables to these little moisture meters. Number 1, the size of the pot. Number 2, your medium that you're using. If you are using a small pot with a loose medium, then you stick this thing in there, it's going to say it's dry because it's a small pot and it's a coarse medium. But when you use it, peat moss and stuff, and you stick this in the smaller pot, it could be moist. And I have a video of this where I proved this thing wrong on my Pinterest, but I stuck it in there. It still reads it as the soil is dry, even though the soil is wet. So what I have learned over the years is use your finger or use a wooden dowel bamboo stake. Stick it in there, basically like you're testing brownies, because that's all I can refer to. But like you're sticking it in a cake and you're pulling it out. If it is dry, then the plant is dry and you can water it. If it comes out with a little soil on it, then it's wet. But this, I don't think works. I know people are like promoting this and say to use it, but personally, it doesn't work for me. Again, the larger pots of soil, you have to stick this thing all the way around it to get an accurate reading of if the soil is dry or if it's still wet. Because if you're just sticking it in one area on the outside most likely is going to dry before the inside soil does. So you stick that thing in there, it says dry, you water it. Well, guess what? You didn't stick it in the center of it or in other areas to test, and it could be wet. I have just found that these are less useful than they are made out to be. And I have this one just sitting under my sink. I don't know why. Maybe for this video, just to show that I do have one. I have tried it. Now, if you have one and it's working for you, great. Keep on it. Don't let me stop you. But if you are a new plant parent and you think that this is going to help you with your watering and get it all down, it's not. You really are going to want to learn how to test your soil organically using your fingers, or again, the bamboo stake, or picking the pot up. And if you're using a really chunky soil mix like I do, these things aren't going to read accurately. They're not going to be able to pick up what like the moisture is in the cocoa coir chips and leca and all of that stuff. So this one is a number 1 on my list of you don't need it. Number 2 on my list, that things you don't need. Spray bottle. So yes, I love misting. Love it. So fun. And it's fun, but it doesn't do anything for your plants. You would have to sit there for hours in the day and sit there and mist your plants to get the humidity that they need. Now, if a new leaf is unfurling and it's a plant that has struggled before, then yeah, I spray the leaf, or you can just run it underwater. You don't even need a spray bottle to do that. But misting your plants doesn't do anything. It just makes you feel better and makes you feel like you're doing something for your plants. But if you do it too much, it can actually cause you or your plant harm. You could actually have bacteria build up and just like waterlog it basically on the leaf, on the foliage. And so it could just sit there on it and soak through it and create fungus that you don't need. And so misters, yeah, don't buy them. Wouldn't recommend you misting your plant every day, a certain amount of time. Like, again, it's just to make you feel good about doing something for your plant, but I don't believe it does anything. So again, if you're out there using this as a humidifier, go you, because that's impressive and I don't know. I just don't have the patience or the time to sit there and spray this bottle all the time, every day for my plants. Which brings me to my next one, which is one that I kind of on the fence about. This is a humidifier. So if you are spraying your plants because you want to raise the humidity, because you've noticed that your leaves that unfurl get stuck, number one, you need to check your watering, because if you are watering properly, most likely your leaves won't get stuck. But if you do have a sensitive plant, like a lot of, I would say, higher end uncommon plants, Anthurium specifically, some philodendron, they do require higher humidity. Albo monsteras, they like higher humidity. And so I do have a humidifier, but at the same time, I've tried and tested my plants in and out of humidity, and I'm not sure that it gives them, like this little machine runs from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. every single day. And I don't know that it actually does anything for my plants, because this is a larger space. And so I know that it affects the plants that are directly next to it. But as far as affecting my whole like plant collection and really helping them, I don't know that it does anything. I think that it makes me feel better that I have it there in case like one leaf does start to get wonky and needs to like unfurl and it's not unfurling properly or whatever. But at the end of the day, I think my watering and just being, properly watering your plants and making sure that they're moist when they need to be is going to help you far more than a humidifier is. Now, again, I could be, just this is my personal experience. Everyone has their own personal desires or whatever, preferences for their plants. But I personally don't know that like a big in-room humidifier is necessary for you and your plants, especially in the beginning. Now, if you have an IKEA cabinet and you are wanting to raise the humidity in that, I can understand. You just need to make sure you add a fan to it, because again, what can happen with the spraying and you spraying and creating that moisture, like the air can grow stagnant, it can grow bacteria, and then fungus starts to happen. So you want that air circulation. But for me, I am not convinced that they are a necessary plant accessory, honestly. And so if you are beginning and you're thinking, oh, I need to add a humidifier to my plants, I don't think that you do. But I know that some plants like my calathea, they have loved higher humidities, and I have given it to them in the past, but I kind of just cut back on all of it. I stopped doing that. I stopped giving it to them, and guess what? They survived, and they aren't browning, and they're doing very well. Now, the key there is watering. Again, watering. If you're on your watering schedule correctly and properly and keeping that moist, then I think that they're going to be happy, and you don't need to go buy a humidifier or anything. So that was my third. Now, fourth one is these cocoa coir poles specifically, or wood planks. I don't think they work. I don't like them, but I know that there have been people out there who have been successful with cocoa coir poles and wood planks. Will your plant adhere to them? No, not if you're in an indoor setting. I don't believe that they will. Everyone that I've seen using these and wood planks, their plant does not grow into them. That just makes them grow up. It helps them grow up and have something to hold themselves on, or balance themselves on, because again, the plant doesn't wrap around and it's not growing into it. Versus a sphagnum moss pole, yes, they're annoying. Yes, you do have to water them constantly, but my plants grow directly into that, and it's an extension of the pot. So they're actually growing into it, and it is useful. This to me is not useful. Now, the only problem, or the only time that these are useful, is in nurseries, or if you have a greenhouse and you are giving them the proper humidity and watering and environment that they do in nature. This will grow. They will grow into them. I've purchased plants on on cocoa coir poles and on planks, like currently my Mayo. But those were grown in a greenhouse with the proper humidity and all of the things that they need. In an indoor setting, I don't think that they work and are useful. So that is why I choose to do sphagnum moss for all of my moss poles, like my extensions, things that I know that they want to grow up. It's because, again, I can fertilize those and I can water them, and they actually will grow in and have proven to grow in and just create a fuller plant. These, again, they're not creating a full plant. I don't think that the aerial roots dig in like they do with sphagnum moss, or even using a soil mixture in them. And so for me, coca-cola poles and wood planks are just a no-go. The last one, that if you are a beginning plant person and you're trying to figure out what you need, self-watering planters, I would stay away from them. So I've had self-watering planters and I have a self-watering planter. So my self-watering planter, the only one that I have, was a DIY. I have a short about it, but I used it for my Calathea orbifolia because, again, they do like to stay moist constantly. And so I knew with that plant, if I wanted to keep it, which I've tried to keep it 3 times, this is my 3rd time and it's working great. I knew if I wanted to keep it, that I would have to keep it moist and really watch it. So I knew I needed a self-watering planter, and that has really helped. Otherwise, in the past, when I've had a self-watering planter, they haven't been useful. It's only killed my plant faster. Now, there is a YouTuber, and I cannot remember her name. She's out of New Orleans, who kills the game on self-watering planters. So if you are looking for a self-watering planter and to understand it, I would go to her channel because it does amaze me. I don't know how she does it, but she uses a different substrate. She uses pond, I think. And so that's different than soil. If you're putting soil into a self-watering planter, I think that that's a whole other ball game, and it causes a lot of pain for new plant parents because they do end up overwatering their plant and killing it. And so I would say don't go for that. Just try to figure out what your plant needs and the watering schedule. And then if you feel confident and understand that your plant, yes, needs more water, no, doesn't need more water, then I would move to a self-watering planter. But for beginning, I would stay away from those. I would just use plastic pots with lots of drainage. That is going to help you really understand when your plant is dry, when it's wet, and when it needs water, and when it doesn't. Again, the self-watering planter isn't going to tell you when it doesn't need water. So you could be creating a lot of issues for yourself and for your plant. Those were my 5 quick products that I, as a plant person, again, collecting for years, don't think that you absolutely need. Again, if you have any of these products and they've worked for you, keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome. It's working for you. That's great. But for me personally, it has not worked in the past, and I do not plan on it working in the future. So let me know in the comments what products you don't like as a plant parent, or if you've used any of these plants and still, or use any of these products and still like them and use them, and how. Because again, I just don't think that this is a true, realistic, helpful tool, but that's just me. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.